So what's up guys, I'm BlackOpsAmazing, welcome back to another video, welcome back to another Zombies Q&A on the channel, the series where I take your questions from the comment section below to do with zombie storyline, Easter eggs, and I answer them. As always, if there's anything you want to ask me, make sure to leave them in the comments. If you do enjoy the video, a like rating is always appreciated, make sure you are subscribed if you aren't already, but let's get into this, here we go, and enjoy. So the first question I have from you guys today is from Blake, and you say, I know you probably always get asked this question, but who gives us the perks, box, weapons, and stuff like that in Cold War Zombies? And I have been asked this question a ton in the past, so for that reason, usually I wouldn't answer it again, but I'm going to because we now have an answer. Every time I've tried to answer this before, we haven't been told officially by Treyarch straight up what the reason behind this is. But in our latest piece of intel from Season 3, well, it's finally been revealed to us, so let's go over it. We know in our old timeline, which is the Ether story, whenever we went to places with the Ultimus crew, the Primus characters, or just random people like the Call of the Dead crew or the Shadows of Evil characters, in every single one of our zombies maps previously, we always had the mystery box, the perk machines, the chalk drawings of weapons on the walls, drops such as max ammos, insta-kills carpenters. Near to the end of the old Ether timeline, it was finally explained to us that it was Dr. Monty giving us all of these things. But we now come over to the Dark Ether story, which is a continuation after Black Ops 4. However, a lot has changed. People such as Dr. Monty were banished to the Dark Ether. We know he is no longer the one giving us all of those things, yet we still have them. There's still a mystery box in Cold War Zombies, there are still perks in our maps, drops, weapons, there is someone still giving us these items, but the question has been, who? We theorised that it may have been the one, potentially being Dr. Monty and the Shadow Man. Some people theorised that it was Nikolai, some people said that it's someone we haven't seen yet, or that it's no one. None of us really knew for sure up until now, because there is a piece of intel in the game where it's revealed to us that this is all down to Zykov. If you take your minds back to the D Machine intro cutscene, as a part of that story, Zykov was a Russian tank soldier who was sent in to shut down the cyclotron. That caused him to become trapped in the Dark Ether. When he became trapped in there, he had to do whatever he could to survive, so he found remnants of the old Ether timeline still in the Dark Ether, the Pack-a-Punch machine, or perk machines. He found these objects broken into scrap, and so because he was a tank mechanic, he had the skills to fix them up, rebuild the Pack-a-Punch, rebuild the perk machines, which also explains why they look slightly different to what we originally knew them, and then he sent them to the real world to assist our characters, to help them, hoping that in return, one day, us being the strike team, would discover him and help him escape.
Sometimes I watch you salvage scraps and take them to the crafting table. I see you transform useless garbage into weapons, and you remind me of me. I have watched you for some time now. I spent countless days preparing to communicate even before my first message at the end station. That was a great moment. The culmination of years of work, gathering parts, cobbling together the machines I sent to help inform you, to give you what you needed to survive. I suppose I should be thankful this place is filled with so many items from our world. It is a junkyard of the ages. Scraps from different places and eras litter this landscape. But even after all this time, I do not know how or why they got here. I only know they provided this old mechanic with just enough tools and materials to save my life. And possibly yours. But as you know by now, I was not the only one watching you. I was not the only one making plans.
So there we go, the big secret is finally revealed. All this time it was Zykov, the tank mechanic trapped in the Dark Ether, that sent these items to help us. For me though, this doesn't fully answer the question because whilst it does explain why we have the Pack-a-Punch and the perk machines, it doesn't tell us how we have the drops like the max ammo and the insta-kill. Those aren't just things you can fix up in the Dark Ether, those are not pieces of scrap, it's the same with the mystery box. So who is giving us those? Is it still Zykov? He doesn't mention it. If it's not him, then it must be someone else. Whenever you pick up one of the drops, you hear the announcer talk. That also happened in our previous timeline. For example, in World at War and Black Ops 1, when you picked up a max ammo, Samantha would announce it. In Black Ops 2, Richtofen would announce it. But it was never those characters giving us the drops, it was always Dr. Monty. So even though we hear this voice announcing stuff like that in Cold War, it doesn't mean it is that same person that gives them to us. So yeah, the question is mostly answered, but there are still some things that don't quite make sense. The next question says, hey BOA, I was wondering if you think it is possible that since we never actually saw Nikolai die at the end of Tag der Toten, could it be a possibility that he is the announcer we hear in Cold War Zombies? As from what I remember from the cutscene, we don't actually see Nikolai's death, only hear it. So I chose this one because whilst I don't believe that Nikolai is the announcer, you do bring up an interesting point that we never actually see him die. Now for the record, I do think he's dead, but this is something interesting to think about. If we just take a look at the Tag der Toten ending cutscene, we see all of our characters dead in front of the fire. Primus Nikolai poisoned them with wine. He even poisoned his ultimate self. Richtofen ended up coming back as undead Richtofen before Primus Nikolai shot him in the head. So right at the end, there were only 3 characters left: Eddie, Samantha, and Nikolai. We then saw Nikolai hand Samantha a gun. She points it at his head. The screen then goes black and we hear the gunshot, and we then transition to Samantha and Eddie walking off into the light, into the Cold War universe. But, as you say, well, you don't actually see Nikolai die. You see Samantha put the gun to his head, you hear the gunshot, but that all happens when the screen goes blank. So, for all we know, because we didn't see it, Nikolai could be alive? I don't believe this. Treyarch have said that the Primus and Ultimus characters are dead. They are done. Obviously, Eddie's still alive, which is pretty much Richtofen. However, an innocent version, or at least he was. I mean, I say that, we have been told he's dead, but I think there's more to that. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting point that we don't see Nikolai die. If we didn't have Cold War Zombies right now, and I'm surprised I didn't really see anyone talk about this at the time, but you could have speculated that maybe Nikolai wasn't dead. We never saw him go into the Cold War universe with Samantha and Eddie though. It was just those two. I don't think Treyarch would do that, but hey, when you don't see something happen on screen, there's always the possibility that something surprising comes along. And just touching on Nikolai being the announcer, well, if you take a listen to the announcer's quotes,
"Fetch me their souls." Bye-bye. Ammo mod.
he also says a lot more than this. There is some really interesting stuff he says in Outbreak, but from what we can tell, the announcer is somewhat in charge of the creatures in the Dark Ether, meaning if this was Nikolai, he would be evil. We think this person speaking is the one, so as far as it being Nikolai, it's a theory I guess. You never know with Treyarch, but I don't believe this one. Anyway guys, there we go, that is it, that's all I have for you for today's video. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have, you know what to do, drop me a like rating if you want to, make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel, leave any questions you have in the comment section below, and I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, goodbye.